Have you ever seen a ghost in your own home? It's not a spirit, but the ghost of the person you thought you married? It was 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, the air in our Chicago brownstone thick with a silence that felt heavier than sound. Her MacBook was open on the kitchen island, a single sliver of blue light cutting through the darkness. She'd left it there, a careless mistake. I wasn't looking, I swear I wasn't. But the chat window was open, a name I didn't recognize glowing on the screen. The last message she sent read, "He has no idea. He's too trusting. I'll be there tomorrow." My world didn't just crack. It atomized. And in that silent, shattering moment, I knew I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to burn her entire world to the ground. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first few weeks were a masterclass in self-deception. I told myself I'd misread it, that it was a work thing, a joke, anything but the truth. But her behavior was the constant dripping faucet of doubt I couldn't ignore. Her phone, once left casually on the coffee table, was now her constant companion, clutched in her hand like a lifeline, screen always angled away from me. The late nights at the office became more frequent. She'd come home smelling of a perfume that wasn't hers, a faint trace of expensive cologne clinging to her coat. I'd ask, "Tough night, honey," and she'd just nod, her eyes distant, already somewhere else. She started talking about a new colleague, Mark. "Just a friend," she'd say, laughing it off. But his name was a stone in my gut. One evening, I found a receipt from the Aviary, a high-end cocktail lounge on West Fulton Market, tucked into her purse. $250 for a quick drink with the girls. I knew her friends. They drank cheap wine, not $10 an ounce cocktails. The lies were piling up like bricks, building a wall between us, and she was the one laying every single one. She grew colder as the weeks turned into a month. The woman who used to greet me at the door with a hug now barely looked up from her phone. Her affection became a performance, reserved for when we were in public. At our friends' dinner parties, she'd drape herself over me, laughing at my jokes, playing the part of the adoring wife. The moment we were in the car, the mask would drop. Silence. A chilling, empty void. She started criticizing me, my job, my clothes, the way I loaded the dishwasher. It was a calculated campaign of emotional warfare designed to make me feel small, to justify what she was doing. One night, I tried to talk to her. I sat on the edge of our bed and said, "Sarah, are we okay?" She looked at me, her expression flat, and said, "I'm just tired, Alex. You're being needy." Needy. The word was a slap. They felt untouchable, her and Mark. I saw them once from across the street. They were walking out of a boutique hotel on North Rush Street, laughing. He had his hand on the small of her back. They looked so happy, so carefree, like two people without a single consequence in the world. They thought I was a fool. They were about to find out how wrong they were. The breakdown happened in a place no one would ever see. A parking garage on Lower Wacker Drive, the air thick with exhaust fumes. After seeing them together, I just drove. I ended up there, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, the engine off. The carefully constructed dam inside me just broke. It wasn't loud. It was a silent, gut-wrenching sob that tore through my body, a pain so profound it felt physical. I was humiliated. I was a cliché, the loyal, trusting husband. For a full hour, I let the despair wash over me. And then, something shifted. The grief curdled into something else. Something cold, hard, and sharp. Rage. A quiet, focused rage. I wiped my eyes, started the car, and drove home. The broken man was gone. In his place was a strategist. I went to our home office, pulled out a fresh legal pad. At the top of the page, I wrote 2 words. Operation Burn. Proof. That's what I needed. Not just for me, but for the world she'd built her reputation on. I became a ghost in my own life. I bought a voice-activated recorder, no bigger than a paperclip, and taped it under the passenger seat of her car. I installed a keylogger on her laptop while she slept. It was disgustingly easy. Her password was our anniversary. The irony was a bitter pill. Chat logs were a torrent of filth and betrayal. They talked about me, mocked me. "He's so predictable," she wrote. "So boring." Mark replied, "Don't worry, baby. You'll be free of him soon." They were planning a future, using my money. I printed everything. Every text, every email, every hotel booking confirmation. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who looked at me with pity. He followed them for 2 weeks. The photos he delivered were a gut punch, but a necessary one. Them kissing in a booth at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse. Them checking into the Peninsula Chicago, her hand in his. I cataloged it all, placing each piece of evidence into a binder, each page a nail in her coffin. The trap had to be perfect. It had to be legal, social, and financial. I met with the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a shark named Ms. Albright. I laid the binder on her polished mahogany desk. When she finished, she looked up and said, "Mr. Henderson, what she's doing is cruel. What we're about to do to her is just business." We found out Mark was a senior partner at his firm. A man with a carefully curated public image and a wife and 2 kids in the suburbs. Sarah was on the board of a major children's charity, her reputation built on being a pillar of the community. It was all a house of cards. We timed it. The charity was holding its annual fundraising gala, their biggest event of the year. Sarah was giving the keynote speech, her moment in the spotlight. My lawyer filed for divorce the morning of the gala, citing adultery and requesting a full asset freeze. We also prepared 2 identical packages, one for the board of directors of Sarah's charity, the other for the managing partners of Mark's law firm, and one more for Mark's wife. The night of the gala was electric. The ballroom at the Drake Hotel was filled with Chicago's elite. Sarah was radiant in a shimmering gown, gliding through the crowd, accepting compliments. She had no idea. I watched from the back, a ghost at the feast. She took the stage, the applause thundering. She began her speech, her voice smooth and confident, talking about integrity and family values. Halfway through, a man walked to the front and handed a thick envelope to the chairman of the board, who was sitting at the head table. At the same time, across town, Mark's wife was opening a package of her own. On stage, Sarah's phone, sitting on the lectern, began to vibrate. And again, and again. A text from Mark. "It's over. He knows everything." Then a text from her bank. "Your accounts have been frozen." Her face went pale. She faltered, her words catching in her throat. The chairman was now showing the photos to the person next to him. A wave of whispers spread through the room like a virus. Her perfect world was imploding, in real time, in front of everyone. She looked out at the crowd, her eyes searching, and she found me. I just stood there, my face a blank mask, and gave her a slow, deliberate nod. She dropped the microphone and ran. The aftermath was a quiet devastation. She was removed from the charity board the next day, citing moral turpitude. Mark was forced to resign from his firm. His wife filed for divorce, taking him for everything. Sarah was left with nothing. The asset freeze was absolute. In the divorce settlement, thanks to the infidelity clause in our prenup, she got a pittance. The last I heard, she was working as a hostess at a restaurant in a different state, her name a toxic whisper in the city she once owned. I sold the brownstone. I never wanted to see it again. Sometimes I walk by the river at night, the cold Chicago wind whipping off the water, and I think about that night. The night I saw the ghost. It's funny what you're capable of when the person you love proves they never existed at all. The end.